And then we have to get this phrasing in 3. 1, 2, 3. Then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. Hey everybody, so I hope you've been enjoying my posts so far. I'm going to do another IG post today, and I think it is going to be a little bit of Mozart's 41st Symphony, his 41st and his very last symphony that he ever wrote, which is really a travesty because this piece is a little bit of a miracle. The last movement is absolutely, to me, one of the great achievements of humankind, and the writing is just spectacular and masterful, and it's just completely awe-inspiring. So I really love playing this piece whenever I get the chance. And particularly, I'm looking at the last movement, and there are all these themes throughout the symphony, Mozart's 41st Symphony. I mean, from the beginning, which is this, that do, re, fa, mi, then la, la, la. So that's literally how the piece begins, and that goes throughout. There are all these da 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 dee, da 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 dee, and the dum bum bee. I could go on and on about that, but I don't. I would love to do a video on all those aspects of the music. But the context of all those other components of the movement are important because they inform how I will play this double bass part. So the part that I'm looking at is after B. There's this little tune. Da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee dee dum ba dee dee da dee. I can't sing dee 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 da dee dum ba dee dee dum dee dum ba dee and then dum bum bum dee dum bing. So just knowing how that works in context, I know y'all don't want to hear me sing. I'll try to do that as little as possible. But just knowing how that even works in that context and how this is actually a little bit of a riff with this dum bing bum bing dum bing dum. So it sounds like I'm just saying bum 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 bum. But what I'm trying to sing are the different entrances of this motivic figure of this. So they dum bum bum. Dum bum bum dum bum bum da 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 dum dum bum. So it literally it's like a round. It's a rhythmic round. It's while the notes may not be like a row your boat, but it's a rhythmic round where it's actually following exactly the same thing, which is masterful to be able to write. One of the many masterful things. So what does that mean? How will I actually phrase this, and how will I look at playing these notes? So Mr. Mozart, very smart man, he has the quarter notes with dots. So to me, some people think staccatos are like to make it short. I started piano very young, and anytime you saw a staccato, it was like as if the key was on fire. You go boop. Boop, whenever you see staccato. I think that's a great idea for maybe a 5-year-old to think about staccato, but as we mature in our years, I think the staccato here, and I think Beethoven does this a lot, is more of a demarcation of the note. So it's a little bit of the length, so the length will get shortened generally because we are making that demarcation. So instead of, if I were to play legato, actually, that's very hard for me to do because I'm used to playing legato. But even if it were written without the dots in Mozart, we know we generally don't play that legato for like anything, particularly the bass part. Now, if it's more melodic, there are definitely more figures where you can do that. But to have this, to make it sound like Rachmaninoff all of a sudden, I'm sure. And this goes back to there are many ways to skin a cucumber or peel a cucumber, whichever way you want to look at it. Sure, you could do it that way. I just don't think it's very stylistically correct, but why not? You could have a whole orchestra and have a ball. You can just play everything like Rachmaninoff. That's what they basically did in the 40s. Play everything like it's Rachmaninoff and have yourself a good time. I prefer trying to be a little more stylistically appropriate. So not only would so again, if there were no dots, I would still probably play with diction, but he actually adds the dots. So I think the dots are a demarcation, so it's even more. So there's more space. Getting that second finger vibrato on D string sucks. Sorry. It's hard because my thumb is on the other side of the neck, and I'm trying to keep my thumb there just for security, but that means I'm limited on the vibrato I can do. Y'all, I'm still learning every day. Anyone got some tips for me? You know, you can put it in my messages, put it in my comments, give me some tips on how I can do. I mean, I could take it off for a second, let's see what that happens there. But then, oh well. It just feels very strange to take that off of that. Hey, well, I might be onto something. I just hope I don't fall off the bass. I'll practice that, I promise. But that's what this is. It's just a practice session. All that to say is it's those half notes. And again, this is after B in the last movement, after the series of Ds, the forte. So I would keep that. So we have the length, but now what about the phrasing? We have dum, be, bum, dum, bum, bum, dee, dum, be, da, 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 da. Yeah, so I think, because there's always a gesture to me somewhere in the music, always. It's not just dum, bum, 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 bum. I think it to me, and this is Joe Conyers on the stage in this moment, bum, bum, bing, do, bum, bing, bum, bum, bing. So, bum, bum, bing, bum, bum, bing. Because the more we phrase that, the more we can actually start to hear the diction in the counterpoint. If we do not phrase in this way, and this is so important, y'all, if we don't phrase in this way in playing basically anything, particularly when the counterpoint is so genius like this, it actually lessens the impact of the counterpoint to our ears. If we look at it on the page, we can see it. But to our ears, it's dum, pum, bing, pum. Then we actually hear the phrasing, and that gesture, along with all the other components of the piece, make the music sparkle. And that's why this last movement is basically a miracle to me. So, so I'll phrase that middle, down bow. Same thing here. Now, here's a rule in all basically classical music. We want to get off that note and then, sorry, I'm talking and playing at the same time. Get off the tie. It's not. That was really funny. So now, off. You can basically almost shave off that last eighth note because it allows us to recover the bow, and get to a better place in the bow, and we keep the same phrasing. And harmonically, that actually works too, because we're marking the key of G major, which is B natural, and then we go to the G. And the same thing here. Off. That was really out of tune, but you know what I'm trying to do. And same thing here. Then we have this little lick. This kind of comes up a lot. This so because of the gesture, it's this musically that comes on in almost like an offbeat. So it's 1, 2, 1, in Baroque and in classical music, whenever that happens, we kind of want to bring that out because then that adds to the rhythmic kind of the rhythmic gymnastics going on, and adds to the spirit of the music and the spirit of the movement, which is what we're trying to go for. So when this lick, I'll probably add like minute accents, and then and I just think that's probably going to be my main mode of action there. The other thing to make a note of is the fingering. So after, this is a pick one's poison kind of situation. So I could go, and then I could play that on the, and then the poison is, picking between the poison is doing the string crossing. So I could totally do that, or playing it all on the same string, which solves the problem for the right hand, but makes it harder for the left hand. I'm more prone to probably playing on the G string, just because like the E is really easy to find. Like these notes aren't difficult to play. So I'll probably try to play on the same string. Then when we get to, so we've talked about these accents on the offbeats. Then we have, to take us to G major, because the piece is in C, but now we're actually trying to tonicize G major. That's actually happening right now. So we get to, as a bass player, you know, that in country music, or in Mozart, it's the exact same function. So whenever we have a line like that, I kind of like to bring it out because it actually is harmonically taking us somewhere to this, which is this G major, which is very, very important in this component of the piece, our new tonic, but actually our dominant in this movement. So let's try that again. I'll do it slowly. And then once you get there, then you can back off. But then it's a party because we've made it the G major. Da dee da dee. And then you don't want to whack the mess out of it, but you might want to give it that little Mozartian jazz-like improvisatory, putting an accent on a weird beat, having on that fourth beat, da dee da dee dee, and it also implies the next, or applies the next chord. So dee da dee da dee da 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 dee, and then we are at a cadence, dee da dee da dum, and the piece, that moment, that phrase ends there. So you should actually phrase it that way. I'll do that again. Da dee da da dee da dee da dee 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 dee. Phrase to dee 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 da. And we phrase to this applied chord of this actually 5 of 5. If that makes any sense of you, it's the 5 chord of the 5 chord. That takes us to the 5. Add a little 7th there, and then takes us to the G. Generally, like in classical music, we phrase off. We don't land on the tonic. I think I've mentioned this in previous videos. We phrase off. So dee, 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 da. And then we have staccato notes. Mr. Mozart, which means mark them, bring them out, because it's melodic material now. So that's actually melodic material, so we can bring that out. So I would even adjust the volume here because it's all in the spirit of forte. So we just want to make sure we don't want to play it all the same way because that would be very boring, as mentioned before. So I'll do that cadence again. Dee, da, dee, dee, dee. Now I would probably separate that. Yeah. I think I would do it on the G and D strings. These chords on D. Oh, this is such great music. This is so much fun to play. So the whole orchestra meets us on that sforzando. So again, this is not like a Shostakovich sforzando. We can have a nice big sound. I wouldn't necessarily do it with the left hand. This is not a moment to me to go, because then it just sounds nervous, but something that's big and bold. Nice accent from the bow, so we get a little grip here, and then release. And then we add that together, and then we get a sforzando. So, and you see, notice I'm doing these crescendos, but there are no crescendos in the part. I'm being musical, y'all. It's all that's what's happening. There are no crescendos in the part, but the whole orchestra is leading to that. And imagine if you have 45, 50 musicians in the same spirit doing the same kind of leading. It's everything. It's completely joyous, it's exuberant, and it means the whole orchestra is on one accord. And musically, it's like we're playing as if we were one person, like a pianist on a grand piano. Yeah. I mean, I think some conductors like to think that they're the pianist and we are the piano, but I'll let you can have the argument in the comments. So let's do that last one. Then back off, increase, no, wrong one. So fourth sound down, and then back off, increase, and then, because that's actually a little bit of an extension, almost like a little surprise to get us to the F, to the G. And now G is tonicized, like what's C major? Because now G sounds like we're in the home key, and we get to play this really, really exciting, another big theme from this movement. I'm sorry, I'm working on the articulation. So this, I'm generally do want to play it longer than I will play it shorter and look for the diction as I go, maybe with a little speed, but also allowing the bow to flex while keeping the hair closer to the string. So, I have to make sure I'm not using too much bow on the scales as well. Closer. That's pretty good. And this theme, pa-dum, bum, ba-bum, bum, that's really thematic. And in this Zimmerman edition, I don't know if this is in Mozart's part, and I'm hoping I'm even saying this correctly with some of the staccatos, but he actually puts a tenuto over the first note, this on the dotted quarter note, which to me works because it's in this melodic spirit. But that's pretty good. And all the scales go to because they actually, you land and they leap to the next phrasing. That's how I would do that. And then for the last one, I do use this open string. Yes, I think this is an appropriate place to use an open string. So, and then we have to get this phrasing in 3. 1, 2, 3. Then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Mozart writes some good music, y'all. And so I hope that was just a little bit of a help in playing the style of Mozart, the way I would approach looking at Mozart 41. I'm going to do a little practice now and see if I can get this ready to make a recording. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Ugh. Okay, so this has its challenges. Some things I'm just looking for is clarity under these eighth notes. That's making me a little annoyed. Making sure that my half notes are always consistent, like these. That's really difficult, trying to keep them consistent and have the same quality over each one. That's something else I'm watching out for. And then and this consistency on these. Anytime these are ongoing, try to keep those really, really consistent. I'll keep working on that. That's it. I'm going to do the recording and we'll see what happens.